We are live with the peoples and whomever would be jumping on to our Syncretize page as soon as it jumps off. The peoples and whomever would be jumping on. I need to mute this. And here we go. Oh, brother Jayden. I was about to call you the wrong name again. How are you doing today?
Um, I'm I'm feeling fine.
You feeling fine? All right, excellent.
Yeah,
Listen, this is a podcast about the things people love and why it brings meaning to them and for them. And Micah let me know that you were willing to be interviewed about something that you enjoy, which I'm told is Star Wars. Is that true?
I do enjoy some Star Wars.
Okay. All
Enjoy
right. Say that again.
it's enjoyable to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be asking you questions about your enjoyment of Star Wars and whether or not or how that can be make or how that can make meaning in your life. Does that make sense for you?
Um, sure.
Listen, we're live now, brother. You can't be out here acting outside. Now's not the time, my
I'm
friend.
sorry. I've never been on a podcast before, so
Oh, get out of
you
here. You
know.
kidding me as much as you kids love being in front of screens? Well, no worries. No worries, brother. No worries. Um, I was checking to see if we were going to get one more of our folk in today, and I'm not sure if he's going to jump on. Well, if he does, then we'll just have him in. So, Jayden, tell me this. How long have you been a fan of Star Wars?
That's a good question. Um, you know, as as a young boy, I
Uh-huh.
guess. I mean, when you're like, I want to say like 5, 6, maybe 7, you
Oh,
like play with Legos,
uh-huh.
right? And then Lego likes to, do collaborations with a lot of big brands. One of those was Star Wars,
Uh-huh.
and that was my route to get into this stuff.
So you're saying
And
Legos
uh,
was your 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 gateway drug to Star
yes,
It was your gateway drug, and that's fine.
yes,
All right, so tell
yes,
me
you can say
this.
that.
Can you tell me what was your first Star Wars movie? Actually, before even that, so if you're saying Lego introduced you to Star Wars, was there anyone in your house that might have led you on the path of the Force?
I mean, well, I guess you could say my brother.
Your brother. Okay. That's you got an older
He is,
brother?
yes, he was
Oh.
a young boy as well. So
Uh-huh.
Cam went out.
Yeah, I see it. It's
Okay.
timing out now. I thought I had it set for longer, so it might do that again.
Mm,
But we'll just keep rolling because you'll be able to hear me even if the camera shuts off. I gotta
yeah.
work on my timer later on. But okay, so your brother led you in with some help from Legos. What's the first Star Wars movie you remember watching?
I believe it was episode 4, the first one
A
that
New
came
Hope.
out,
Was
of
that
course.
four?
Episode 4, A New Hope,
Yeah, that
I
was
think
your
it
first
was, and I can't I can't remember how old I was when it was,
one.
but my dad used to be a movie junkie, I
Okay.
guess, before I was born. So he had a bunch of, I mean, well, there were some VHS tapes in the garage, and
Wow.
one of them Star Wars. And of
Okay.
course, after having seen that stuff before, I was, we wanted to watch the movie
Okay.
for time, I guess.
All right. So, have you watched all of the Star Wars movies?
I haven't seen the latest one that came out, but besides that, I have.
And you
So
call yourself a Star Wars fan?
Wow. Come
I
on,
don't go.
Dad.
Well, when you say the latest
Sorry,
one,
I
is
don't.
that the Last Jedi or is it Solo? What are you referring to as the latest one?
The Rise of Skywalker came out
Okay.
last.
Okay, good. See, I can't even remember which one came when, and we saw Rise of Skywalker.
Skywalker.
Yeah, we saw
Didn't
that.
like it.
Yeah, it was not a good movie. Is that the reason why you haven't seen it yet? Because people said it wasn't.
Um. Well, I. Well, my family doesn't really go to the theater,
Gotcha,
which
gotcha.
I mean, it's not like we're not against theater. We just don't go there for
Okay.
entertainment.
Well,
So
it's even harder
yeah,
now. It's not like some.
I may rent it one of these days, but just for sake of completion, because apparently it was a very bad film. Is
It
what
Yeah,
people
wasn't
are
good.
saying.
it's a good bad movie. I'll put it like that. If you're a Star Wars fan, you actually will probably love it all the way through,
Yeah.
because it's pure fan service throughout the movie,
Yeah.
which is a challenge. I'm not a Star Wars fan, so there are a bunch of things in there that I thought didn't need to be done in the way that they did it, but they had to, like you say, complete the circle so they'd be able to move on. So here we're gonna get into some things that are a little bit deeper. Um, what is your favorite Star Wars movie? So if your first one that you saw was New Hope, Episode 4, what's the favorite one for you? And we know it's not Rise of Skywalker because you haven't seen that. So what's your favorite?
Well, um, Return of the Jedi, I guess, has a special place in my heart.
Excellent.
I I mean, I like Ewoks. I just like Ewoks.
Who doesn't like Ewoks? How can you not like Ewoks?
Micah, I'm going to ask you not even to say anything about Return.
What? I watched the movie too.
You did not.
Yes, I did. We watched it together.
This is a constant discussion in our house how much Star Wars movies Micah actually sat through. Because he only wanted to see the.
All three of the originals.
You didn't watch. Oh, you're not talking about prequels. I don't
Yes,
know.
I'm not talking about the prequels. I didn't
Okay.
want to watch the prequels.
Okay. Fine. All right. Well, we're interviewing you, Jared. Not.
Jayden.
Oh, Jayden. Dang it. I almost made it through without messing up his name.
It hasn't been 10 minutes.
Listen, I'm old, and these things are allotted to me. So, Jayden, it's helpful if I just read it on the screen, Jayden. Okay. So, Jayden, we're going to get a little bit deeper now. We got a little bit out of the way of the fun stuff here, and we're going to go a little bit deeper with you. You ready to go deeper, Jayden?
Let's dig deeper.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. I'm a person that's been into sci-fi my entire life, from books, movies, comic books, all of it. I've always paid attention to it, and as I teach people a lot of times, I've always been interested in the journey of the hero, and Star Wars allows for us to watch that journey. How do you feel about the role of the hero in what you've seen as far as Star Wars?
Well, as many know about the original trilogy, which is episodes 4, 5, and 6,
Mm-hmm.
the director and writer George Lucas, he modeled that after a story structure that's called the hero's journey.
Right.
It's a it was it was penned, I guess. It was pointed out first by some dude named Joseph Campbell,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and he laid out the story structure,
Uh-huh.
which he saw in a lot of heroes' stories in mythology and whatnot,
Uh-huh.
and he laid that out in his book.
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas saw that, and he turned that into what is now the original trilogy. So,
Mm-hmm.
at the heart of Star Wars, there's the structure of Star Wars is quite literally the hero's journey.
Okay.
That's
Now, many times I've seen that also in the Star Wars movies is a parallel to something that we see in the Bible called the Great Controversy. How do you think Star Wars lines up with what we see in the Bible, whatever you know of the Bible?
Well, I mean, it's definitely not a perfect comparison, I'll say. You
Okay.
know, in Star Wars, there's they have the Force, of course, and then there's two sides of the light side and the dark side. You
Mm-hmm.
could say it's the good and bad side, but there's like, people don't really, some people don't really want to assign one side is good, one side is bad.
Okay.
So,
There's
it's,
definitely a gray area in between where some people
yeah,
will
there,
act
there,
and like hop back from either side, so you can't really put them in one specific category.
and the thing about Star Wars
Okay.
is that um the Force in the Star Wars universe seeks to achieve balance of, light and dark side. So, if you have someone who's on the light side, you have someone on the dark side, that's
Mhm.
balance. Which, you know, it's not a perfect comparison,
Okay.
I'd say. Because the ultimate goal is of the force, which is a force,
Uh-huh.
is to balance itself. And if you look at good and evil, we we would desire for the good to prevail over the evil, or
Okay.
to.
So then has Star Wars, in your opinion, gone against its own basic tenet? If there's supposed to be balance in the Force, why do we care if the light side is attempting to defeat the dark side, or the dark side is attempting to defeat the light side?
Endless
Um,
movies, a never-ending struggle.
A never-ending
yep.
struggle. Okay.
They just keep making new characters because there must always be balance.
Do you think
I
so?
guess, yeah, you can say that capitalism.
So we go off of story structure, and now we're just going right into the bank. Is the reasoning versus a larger picture? Micah,
It's
go ahead, Jayden.
it's compelling. I mean, to us, to human beings, it's compelling to see a struggle
Uh-huh.
between protagonists and antagonists, and I don't think Star Wars has the makers of Star Wars have fully um, jumped into this is all, we're just trying to achieve balance. There's no good, there's no evil. I think there is still a sense that one side does good things and another side produces bad things.
Okay. So
So,
I want to wind back a little bit because Micah made a comment that I'm wondering if you guys actually believe this, in that there is more gray in Star Wars simply because you cannot have people who are wholly light or people who are wholly dark. That there's this gray that exists in the movies, if you want to say that. Do you guys believe that? And give me an example how you think that would work, because you said people
um,
back and forth.
Jayden, you want to go first, or I'll...
well, I mean, there's, I guess you could say there's many stories in the Star Wars universe of people
Mm-hmm.
who have, jumped around, turned from light to dark, or from Jedi to Sith, or not in between even. You don't
Anakin?
people not really with yeah with any side of it, and um with the two factions, the Jedi and the Sith, the Jedi wish to harness the full power of the light side and the Sith, the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like both in both factions they're trying to push away from the side of the Force they don't like, as much as possible. Go away from that gray into a more clear territory.
Okay.
And then going off of what he said, it's they're both trying to get out of that gray area. But I think to leave that gray area makes you not, I'd try to say, human anymore. Because if you become solely good and you don't like make mistakes anymore or do things that could possibly get you seen as being on the dark side, then you become perfect, right? And that's impossible.
Well, it's a movie, but
Yeah,
what
but
makes
so
someone on what makes someone Jedi versus Sith? Tell me.
okay, I think
I don't know.
um
Can you answer that question, Micah, or is this one from Jaden because he's the Star Wars person?
I I think I can answer it. A Jedi is someone who I think seeks to use the Force predominantly for good and the good of others. Meanwhile, a Sith would want the Force to benefit mainly themselves or their own plan or regime. Is that right?
Well, um, you could, that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, the Jedi are trying to harness the light side, and the Sith are trying to harness the dark side. And I guess in the dark side, how you harness that is through gaining power for yourself, you know, passion, stuff like that. And on the light side, you harness the light side through sacrifice and service.
Hmm.
Is more how it works,
Okay.
I'd say.
All right. That
And
sounds well, okay.
and
Pretty good. Say it. I'm sorry.
jumping off of what jumping off of what Michael was saying about striving to like get away from that gray area and like you know become perfectly light or perfectly dark. That's that's was one of the aspects of the fall of Anakin in the prequels
Okay.
because around him there were all these people who were, you could say, perfectionists and wanted him to get rid of his get rid of his attachments attachments to, like, for example, his mother, attachments to his wife, and you know and Anakin didn't feel he couldn't live up to the expectations, I guess, of those around him,
Hmm.
and fell away, which is how the story goes.
Yeah. So, do you think in life it makes sense to not have attachments? Because it seems that what it sounds like Star Wars says, if you have attachments, you could be manipulated by them, or your feelings would allow you to go the way of the dark side. Does that make sense?
Well, that is an idea that's presented in Star Wars,
Okay.
and you could say in a sense that attachment to family, attachment to loved ones can cause you to act irrationally or to do bad things.
Hmm.
And there's, if you talk to Master Yoda, there's many things he says is a path to the dark side. There's like
Okay.
fear,
There are many
anger,
things he says that are as a path to the dark side.
yeah, fear,
Okay.
anger are paths to the dark side.
Uh-huh.
And it's true that those feelings can arise
Hmm.
from attachments, fearing for the safety of loved ones, um, you know, getting enraged for their protection can happen. But the I don't think that in real life we should cause us to cut away all our attachments to other people. I don't think that's rational to do.
Okay. So is it? So you think? Do you think it's possible in the way that the force is construed in the movies that anger will indeed lead you to the dark side, or is it possible for you to be angry and still remain on the light side?
Well, I, I anger is anger is a feeling that in Star Wars would be classified as on the dark side. So, I mean, using anger is dark side. That would be something somebody dark side would always do. And I I think there's in Star Wars, I think there's room for you to, sometimes slip up, you become a bit angry, and then, you know, not go full dark side mode. I mean, it was a gradual thing. It was a gradual thing for Anakin.
Okay.
He went from slaughtering adults
Mm-hmm.
and children to children.
So that
Yeah,
No,
that he does
it's
not good things.
where
that was not good.
where do you
Order
straddle?
66.
And when you consider Anakin, it has. Do you think Vader has been redeemed?
Um, well, I think that's part of the point of Return of the Jedi. Um, he, I think he's been filled is a good term to describe what happened to him. He fulfilled his purpose, which was, well, he fulfilled the purpose which his life was built around, to bring balance to the Force, technically, because, at the end of Return of the Jedi, it's just him, a dark side user, and his son, a light side user, of balance. So, and he grew to see his son become a hero. So, I think he was fulfilled. I'm not sure what you mean by redeemed.
Well, when we're talking about the character of Anakin who becomes Darth Vader, in real life, we would think that people that bad, that evil, that driven for evil, that there is no hope for them. Yet in the movies, they constantly show us that there was hope. For lack of pardon the pun, when I'm thinking about the first number four, there was hope that Vader could be redeemed. And by the time you get to the end
Yeah,
of the Jedi story, isn't that the one where Vader takes on Palpatine to allow Luke to get
yeah,
away?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
He took on Palpatine and to help his son. Yeah,
right. So do
I
you
mean,
that
to
was
save his.
was he redeemed then?
Um, I guess you could say that. Yeah, I mean, hope.
Well,
Yeah, hope
uh,
is a huge theme in the original trilogy,
right.
and in, in Episode 6, you see Luke say, "I feel good in Vader." There's still hope for him. Hope, I guess you could say, to be redeemed.
Uh-huh.
So, and at the end, I guess that's Vader's redemption arc.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how exactly you get redeemed from killing children. Exactly.
well,
Or aligning yourself with people who
Well,
would
that's
do that.
that's the horrible stuff that he did, and at the end he saved his son, and I guess he redeemed himself. I guess you could say he redeemed himself from the act of killing children. I mean, it depends on the way you look at it.
well, that's why we're talking about it, because the whole idea is there is a meta narrative that takes place in the Star Wars universe. Part of that is this use of the Force. Um, if I was to be biblical about it, I would say it's whether or not you accept Holy Spirit in your life so that you would do good things. With the difference in how the Force is effective in your life or even in Micah's life would be your decision making, right? Because that's free. That's your, no one makes you make the choices that you make. You've been given an outline, you're given information, you are given people to guide you in a direction, but ultimately the choice is yours. And that's where you're about, I don't know, I don't like the idea of the gray, but that's where most of us seem to spend a lot of time until we figure out whether we're going to be Sith or Jedi. And in the purposes of our life. Do you think that makes sense?
And yeah, I mean, that's it is it, that's a part of stories. The story, and which can be applied to, I guess, our spiritual lives. I mean, the story won't tell you. I mean, if it's a good story, it won't tell you, oh, well, Greg is good and Bob is bad. And what a good story would do is say Greg does good actions, he helps the poor, he does good things, and Bob doesn't do those good things. And uh, I in stories, a character is good and bad by their fruits, and that's something we can apply as well to our spiritual lives.
Well,
You
that
can
sounds
know which
very
side you're
biblical
on.
right there, brother. But okay, all right. So your favorite of the Star Wars lore is Return of the Jedi. First one you ever saw was Episode 4, A New Hope, Star Wars, our original movie. What is your least favorite Star Wars flick?
Um,
How many of the
well,
sequels have you seen?
I've seen two sequels. I mean, The Last Jedi. A lot of people hated that film, and I think that was you know that was my favorite.
That
So
was your favorite or not your
that
favorite?
wasn't that was my favorite. So um,
What
there,
about
there's like there's some Star Wars films which I think like Solo, Force Awakens, which are fine, but they kind of not they're kind of more boring than the
okay?
rest of. But I
Exactly.
mean,
Well, Solo is canon, isn't it? Is Solo?
Yeah,
Solo is
I think Solo has to be canon because that's Han's
yeah it is.
backstory.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I've never. Actually, I might check out Solo tonight. I think we'll. Is Solo on Disney Plus? I don't know. We'll take
It's
a.
the Disney movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have so
Yeah.
Ah,
Well, my
I
wife upgraded her
it
iPad.
might
We now
probably
have Disney Plus for free for a year.
cool. Wait, really?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
actually, I didn't know she had, so I bought 1 month, and then we have it for the rest of the year for free.
yay.
It doesn't matter when there's nothing going to be coming out.
Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. Well, there's a few things that are already out.
Uh,
So
I didn't see anything all that exciting on there. I did it for the month just so we could watch Hamilton, but that's neither here nor there. Back to our
Star Wars.
our discussion today
I wanted
on.
to actually say something
Go
on
ahead.
how he was talking about characters earlier, where if I'll go back to the Greg and Bob example thing. I think the reason that we don't enjoy having a predominantly good character is because we can't exactly see ourselves in that. Because if he always does the right thing, and he's just like the good guy in the fact that he never does the wrong thing, then you could almost say that he's perfect. He's the perfect being. And none of us on the earth are perfect. And so if a character can always do the right thing, but also has something else that may hinder them, I think that's what makes us more interested in the character rather than just he always does the right thing.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that. Is did Luke was our quote unquote character who was supposed to be the through line of good of the Jedi, right?
Mhm.
And in the latter three movies, we see where quote unquote he struggled, mistakes that he made, but he is still looked at as the good guy. As a matter of fact, they make him out almost to be more like God simply because everyone is depending on him for them to see positive. There has to be, if the force doesn't continue, and that's where we get our Daisy Ridley character coming in, because the force continues with her. But it's oh,
Right.
even she's an interesting character in that. Oh, you didn't see the last movie, so I spoiler warning, but you probably already know. Ray's descendants, right? Do you know where Ray comes from, Jayden?
Something Palpatine.
Exactly.
I'm still confused on how Palpatine had a kid. How?
Well, they,
How?
they taught you that in fifth grade science, Micah. So,
But who?
does it matter? And I think that's where you get confused, or you're getting all tied up in stuff that doesn't matter in the point of the story. The point of the story is they wanted to create a character who started out on the dark side and would be the redemption of the light side, or she's the redemption of Luke Skywalker, and she is the perfect foil for what is the other guy's name? Solo's
Kylo,
son.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
So I think that's the point of the back to your your point, Mike, about people being in the gray. We assume that she was light side this whole time, whereas it may have been she was actually dark side and not recognizing it. It was just the people who were around her that made her believe in the light and then ultimately choose the light.
So then that's nurture over nature.
There you go. Looks like you pay attention in school, brother.
I do pay attention in school.
But not to get lost here, I want to get back to including you in this conversation, Jayden. As it relates to, we know your least favorite Star Wars movie now is, was it The Last Jedi?
Um,
Like that
I
one?
guess so. I guess so.
Okay. What your favorite Star Wars character and why?
Uh, that's a good question. Um,
Misa, I expect you to say Jar Jar Binks.
that's a correct answer, Micah.
That's your favorite character?
Well, I'm not sure I have a favorite character,
Okay.
but I like I think Anakin had maybe the best arc in the movies.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I
Golly.
maybe Anakin. I don't know.
He didn't
Okay.
like sand.
He
Yeah,
doesn't like sand?
He didn't
doesn't
like
like.
sand. He doesn't like
Okay.
sand.
Well, I got another question for you, Jaden. So if Anakin's your favorite character, New Hope was your first movie seen, least favorite last Jedi. I almost said Last Skywalker. That doesn't make sense. It's not a movie. Uh, when you look throughout all the characters, now are you familiar with Clone Wars as well? Do you watch those?
No, no,
Okay.
I,
All right. Well, that's
I should get.
time for your summertime. Somehow find the Clone Wars and catch up on your Star Wars lore. It's Star Wars history for you there, young man. You need to be learning this stuff like it's real. But anyway, um, when you look at the breadth of characters, which character in the Star Wars universe is the most like Jaden, and why?
Um,
Yoda.
You think Yoda is the most like Jayden?
In our friend group, yes.
Well, for this, we want Jayden to actually answer.
oh,
Oh, okay.
okay, that's a good answer, Micah. I can be the holder of 1,000 years of experience.
You've all been on the earth for 14 years. It's a bit much, but okay. We'll give you that. You are the Yoda of your friends. So then, Jayden, if you had to look at all of the Star Wars characters, which character would you say is Micah?
Ooh.
It's a lot of dead air, brother.
Me,
People are watching.
I mean,
you can't have so much
I
dead air.
think
Who is that?
I guess maybe Luke. Maybe Luke actually.
You'd
You
actually
know,
pick him out to
I
be.
think
He's battling with the Force.
I think he fits that character maybe the best in our group. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
take that.
All right. So okay, and I'm gonna go down the line then. So in
Yeah.
your group of friends, then I'm gonna try to remember who I'm thinking of. Who would Ben and Emma?
Ooh.
Who's a-
Oh wow. I would.
Maybe I should have said it a different way. Versus saying the names of your friends, I would say who would be Han? Who would be Han Solo?
If you had asked me to put, I would.
Both Ben and Emma.
Both Ben and Emma are Han Solo.
Both of them.
If you mix Ben's temperament with Emma's craziness.
Yeah, that's a good word. I was trying to find a word that didn't make her seem like an insane person.
They're both halves of Solo. Okay. All right. Who in your friend group then would be Leia? Ultimate would be General Leia.
General Leia.
Or it could be Princess Leia. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the people y'all are on the Discord with all the time, but who would
I
be?
would have actually to go back to Han, I would have gone and said Ben is Han Solo and Emma's Chewie.
Okay.
Okay, so they're Ben and Chewie, so I don't have to choose someone for that. So
No,
who would
Emma's Chewie. Leia would be, because if we have our whole class to go off of, then actually, who would? I think Chloe.
Because Jayden's gonna leave you out there calling out names, and he's gonna say you said all this stuff about.
I'm sorry. If we're going off our whole class, then I think the person who would work for Leia is Chloe.
I mean, yeah, that works actually. She's in a position of power.
I think she'd make the most sense as someone that the girls would choose as to be like their leader or general.
Okay.
I think she works for the role as well.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Who would be Lando Calrissian?
Lando. I want to say Jake, but then I don't think so. Emma's watching this live stream right now, and she just commented, Chewie's like 6 foot something.
We're not talking about actual dimensions. We're talking about in character. Who would they be in this in a universe far, far away?
We're actually
shrewd businessman, friend of Han. I don't know.
I'm actually getting some recommendations.
Okay.
Lucas Youngman being Lando Calrissian.
Okay. That would fit my characterization of
Because friends with Han, friends with Han.
Mm-hmm. All right. I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know
it
too
makes
many
sense.
other characters. I'm going to be just
Oh,
Would
guessing.
Lucas do well in running a mining operation in a city in the clouds?
I think he would uh, do a lot more of the thinking than the actual doing. And so I think he while he could do it, he'd need help.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get back into some of this. That was nice conjecture. Micah, that was your hypothetical for the end of the show.
Wahoo!
So we
I
don't
got
have.
my hypothetical.
Or do you? We can still end with a hypothetical because you always want to do that. That'll be
Okay,
our show moments.
I'll start thinking of it.
But we're back to the development of meaning. So for Jayden, you've enjoyed Star Wars for a good part of your life. Um, do you think watching these movies for you did it provide any meaning for you? What was the thing that drew you to it and it keeps you watching even though you haven't seen the most recent one?
Um, I think I enjoy how the expanse of it.
Okay.
It's a whole galaxy, and if you go to the Legends, it's thousands of years old. The Jedi Order in Legends is like 35,000 years old.
Wow.
So it's just a lot,
Uh-huh.
which is good, you know.
So you feel like there's always something there for you to learn?
Well, yeah, there's if you go to the Star Wars Wikipedia, if you go to the Star Wars Wikipedia, there's like I do
Do
enjoy
that? You go to Star Wars Wikipedia?
called Wikipedia, and
Oh,
there's
Okay,
I
that's
I
good.
I
That's
enjoy reading those articles
okay.
on.
All right. I got we've got a couple more things to hit here and then we'll let you go for the afternoon. Thank you again for doing this with us.
Thank you
Um
for having
one
me.
of the things I always teach young people when I was in youth ministry primarily, but I still do it now at the church that I serve, is everything you take in, all the media that we like to enjoy is trying to teach you something. Your job is to figure out what are they trying to teach me and whether or not those things agree with my core beliefs. So you've enjoyed Star Wars for years, from episode 4 back through the prequels and even the ones that came after, the sequels that came after. What do you think, if you were to boil it down? Star Wars is this compendium, this huge universe, but there are, let's say, three things that can be taught from watching these movies. What are the three things you think can be taught?
Um, well, I think okay. First of all,
Uh-huh.
the depending on those around you, depending on their health, is something that like in the original trilogy,
Uh-huh.
Luke has to depend on all his friends, and you have in my favorite movie, Episode 6, you have these two teams, and if one of them fails at their mission, then the entire thing fails.
Gotcha.
So that's one lesson, I think. Um, from from Anakin's arc, I think we can we can learn that it's okay to make mistakes, and that we shouldn't let those mistakes damage like our self worth or yada yada. You know,
Or yada yada.
we should be we should be all right. We should be all right with making mistakes,
Okay.
and we shouldn't be. I don't. I don't think we should be overly perfectionist. Is something
Overly
I think.
perfectionist. Really?
Overly perfect.
Okay. Even though you go to
We
church.
shouldn't try.
You got this God person that is supposed to be making us better. We shouldn't be overly perfectionist.
I mean, of course, we should be aiming for the good,
Okay.
but I mean, setting too high standards for ourselves can, I mean, that it leads to disappointment.
Okay. I got you. All right. So we got two things down. What's your third thing? If you had to tell us what can be taught, or what did you learn from Star Wars in the
Um,
galaxy far, far away? You started with depending on team. That's a very biblical idea that even Jesus had a team. Even though he had all power in his hands, he needed, well, I don't know if he needed, but he did create a group that would continue the message. And even in your movies, you could talk about the fact that Luke, even upon him becoming a Jedi, while it didn't go great for him, he continued to create disciples. He wanted to rebuild the Jedi Order. Didn't go right, but that's what he went out to do. Two, the mistakes don't define us. That was the second thing you said, that it's okay to make mistakes. And I think that's very important, um, especially for your generation, that you're not afraid to make a choice. You're not afraid to make a stand somewhere. You're not always going to be right, but not doing anything can guarantee that you'll be wrong a lot. Or you actually, whichever way you want to say that, but you can't be afraid of making the choice. Does that make sense? Yeah, but so now number
and
three.
we shouldn't let mistakes stop us from going forward.
Okay, can't let
It's
mistakes, right. We shouldn't make mistakes define us. All right, so I just talked a little bit to give you some time. What's your number three?
um well, I guess one thing you can draw out of it is in episode 5, Luke Yoda tells Luke to, you know, wait, wait and finish his training before he goes and helps his friends who are currently in trouble.
Right.
I mean, of course, Yoda, can sense with the Force
Uh-huh.
that can't really do anything about it. He can't change anything, but it's good sometimes to wait and to, complete what we started. I
It's good
You
to
could say
finish what you.
I'm kind of I'm kind of grasping at things here
Okay,
for a
cool.
third,
That's good.
but
See, the point of this whole thing is throughout the media and a lot of things that you guys like to look at, you have to remember there's always another meaning. There's always another way to look at the things. And because at this point, unless you're doing theological training on the side, most of what you're going to take in is not going to be biblical. Yet more of what you take in has a biblical idea in it, or a biblical ideal. And I think it's important that you guys be able to start being sensitive, or even like in the Star Wars galaxy, they would say being force sensitive. You would be sensitive. I can't stand you, camera. I have to change that. It's on a 15-minute timer. Going off every 15 minutes. I was like, golly, I thought that would be enough time. I don't know why I thought that, but so I know I have time till the end of the show. So the idea, however, still is that you all have to be sensitive to whatever it is you're taking in, and how much is this. What does it have? What ultimate effect it has on us? One of our biblical ideals or ideas is, by beholding, you will become changed. And we have to talk about, Jayden, you talked about having a team around you. You what Luke needed the team in order for him to have success. And I think that same thing is true for every one of you guys who support each other or in class together as you guys are getting older. It's important that it's important to have a good team around you, people who can support you, people who will kick you in the pants when you're not doing the right thing, people who will hold you accountable, All of that is important for development, especially you guys as young men, 14 years old. You guys about to go into high school. So that's
Woohoo.
what I really appreciate you spending this time with us, Jayden, and telling us about your fandom, which is Star Wars. At the end of every one of our episodes, Micah always comes up with some hypothetical he always wants to throw out there. So I have to give him his chance today. To
Okay.
Before
This.
before we do that,
go, Jayden.
before we do that, I might want to change my third lesson to be don't think you know everything, or don't think you can do everything.
Okay.
Which kind of builds on the first one, which is you need a team sometimes to do. Which I mean, this is an idea that's presented in The Last Jedi, which I feel like there were some problems the way they presented this. In that movie, you have the hotshot pilot Poe Dameron, who's trying to have his own plan and go his own way. He thinks he can do it all by himself. He knows it,
Done
and
that better.
his superior apparently has a plan, which I got a problem with that plan from a story perspective. But
that's a discussion for the day.
as a principal, we shouldn't think we know everything and can do everything.
Okay.
I think
I like that. As a principal, you don't know everything and you can't do everything. Make sense? Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Jayden, for your time. Micah,
Question
give us
time.
hypothetical for the day.
Okay, so you can both answer this question. If you could introduce one new character from a completely different universe, like it could be a Marvel character, a DC character, Harry Potter character, even something from like Percy Jackson, introduce a character into the Star Wars universe. Which faction, okay, so one, which character would it be? And two, would they be light side, the dark side, or would they just be a bounty hunter who shifts between?
I got my one character. I would introduce Lucas Bishop from the Marvel Universe, and he would be a bounty hunter.
Well, I think there's potential. There's potential in an Iron Man, I guess, for the Star Wars. For Star Wars. And the thing about Star Wars is we have all this technology, and we don't really get to focus. The technology isn't really the focus of the movie, and maybe they could do something with that. Since Iron Man is a great engineer, he can do stuff with technology. That might have some potential.
I think he'd be put in the same element as he is in like the Avengers movies.
This is kind of on the fly, but sure.
I'd want to introduce Rocket Raccoon from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, introduce Rocket and Groot, and they'd be bounty hunters.
Oh, you'd make a
both Rocket and Groot.
Okay.
Rocket before he meets with the other Guardians is not like specifically a good guy or a bad guy. He shifts. So I think if given the chance, he and Groot would shift back to that, just taking jobs. So yeah, Rocket and Groot. Okay. You see how the Star Wars universe would react to a talking raccoon and a tree.
Well, yeah, when you consider that there's a Jabba the Hutt and all kinds of different sorts of creatures, Rocket Raccoon and Groot aren't all that odd. They would be fine. A talking
Nisa think they would get used to it eventually.
I don't think it's surprising when you're in a galaxy far, far away. But thank you, Micah, for your hypothetical of the day. We appreciate that. Thanks again, Jayden, for joining us. For all of you all who watched today, maybe because you're a fan of Jayden or you just like Either way, we appreciate you watching today. Like and subscribe. We do this every Sunday as far as we can at 3 o'clock, and we love to get your questions. Tell us about your fandom and what it means to you, and maybe you can be on Syncretize with us on a future episode. So, with that, I will say goodbye. You guys have a great afternoon. Thanks again, Jayden.
Thank you
We
for
will
thank
end
you for having me.
our meeting. You're welcome, brother. You're welcome.